we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to tune in. Let me make sure my settings are good. Mic check, mic check. Awesome. All right, let's get going. Of course, what we've been waiting for a long time is finally happening, and it seems like it's going pretty quick. Richard Allen's trial started today with jury selection. It's supposed to go till Wednesday or Thursday, but it sounds like it's going pretty quickly. So it looks like, not to get too ahead, but they've got 14 jurors so far, so 12 regulars, 2 alternates. They need 2 more. So that will happen tomorrow. So that'll likely mean that Wednesday they'll take off, and then Thursday they're going to be sworn in, and then Friday is opening statements. I can't believe we are finally here. So we'll go over everything that happened. There's little tidbits that were kind of released throughout the day. Nothing huge, but there are some things that were very interesting, and I think it plays on both sides. So let's get into it here. As always, we like to feature a missing person at the beginning, so let me jump into that real quick here. Today we have 11-year-old Liliana Enriquez. She went missing with her younger brother Andreas, and were last seen in the area of Union Hills Drive on 21st Ave. She was last seen wearing a black t-shirt and black shorts. This was, I believe, on October 11th. So I believe this is 3 days. So anyway, this is in Phoenix area of Arizona. If anybody's out in that area and you have any information or see them, I wish they had a picture of the brother. But if you do have any tips, you can call 602-262-6141. Once again, that's 11-year-old Lily Anna Enriquez and her brother Andreas. I'm assuming Andreas Enriquez. Both went missing. I believe it's October 11th. Unfortunately, I don't have a poster. I was trying to look for it, unfortunately. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Again, I didn't spend a lot of time researching it, but all I could find was just the post of her picture. And, a lot of times you can find a, obviously they'll make a missing poster, which is, got more details. But unfortunately, I couldn't find anything. So, all right, let's get into it here. Let's go. Teenage girls. Abby. Okay, so I'm going to play just the recap real quick. It's just 3 minutes, just for anybody that's not familiar with this case. And then that way I can read the chat for a minute. So I'm going to quickly do that. And then we'll jump, instead of doing the timeline, we'll jump into basically what started in the morning, and we're just going to go through the entire day. A lot of little nuggets of information that kind of came out, so we're definitely going to go through all that. All right, let's just play the recap for anybody that's not familiar with this story. Williams and Liberty German had made last-minute plans to go to the Monon High Bridge, which was supposed to be a teenage hangout with a historic trail and a really high old abandoned bridge. The 2 girls, who were best friends, just had a sleepover the night before and were excited when Libby's sister, Kelsey German, said she would drop them off as long as the 2 girls found a ride home, which they did. Although it was February, the temperature was nice for that day. Even though it was a Monday, they had school off that day. The 2 girls, Abby and Libby, would be dropped off just before 2 p.m., where they planned on only staying for a couple of hours. The 2 teens, Abby and Libby, would begin walking the 501 trail to the Monon High Bridge. As the 2 would approach the bridge, Libby, who had her iPhone, would take 2 pictures, one as they passed the first platform, and another which shows Abby looking down as she is crossing the scary, tall, gap-filled railroad tie. The girls didn't know it yet, but they were not alone. As a few hours would go by, the father of Libby, Derek German, would show up, but the two girls were not at the meetup spot. Thinking that the two teens just lost track of time, he would end up calling Libby's phone. The phone was ringing, but no one was answering. He would begin searching for the two teens, but when running into other people, no one had seen them. Eventually, the authorities would be called out, and this would lead to a search party looking for the two girls. But sadly, there was no sign of them on that first night of the 13th. With the search being called off late that night for safety reasons, it would be resumed early that next day. They brought in helicopters, divers, and many other resources to scour the area. But just around noon that day, they would soon discover a grisly scene. Authorities would discover the two girls across the river, and both had sadly been murdered.
Investigators solemnly identified the two bodies found in Carroll County as 13-year-olds Libby German and Abby Williams.
We would soon get multiple press conferences, including one of the most memorable statements by Superintendent Doug Carter.
We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will. A question to you. What will those closest to you think of? Two children. Only a coward would do such a thing. We are confident that you have told someone what you have done. Or at the very least, they know. Because of how different you are since the murders. I believe you have just a little bit of a conscience left. And I can assure you that how you left them in that woods is not what they're experiencing today.
I just unveiled the person that we believe responsible for the murder of these two little girls.
We would also finally get a grainy image of the monster who was responsible. Not only that, but we would also get a 1-second clip of him walking, plus the 4 infamous words that was said to the girls.
Guys.
This video was taken by Libby's iPhone at 2:13 p.m. while at the end of the bridge with Abby. It shows rearranged by the offender.
Document also gave new information about the crime scene, saying one of the...
Okay. Excuse me. So there's a little bit more to that recap, obviously, but you guys kind of... Oh, it's always weird when I make this smaller. Always wants to fight me. Here we go. So yeah, I forget. I just saw the number of days. Oh gosh, it's in the thousands. Since they've been waiting for justice, since these poor girls were murdered 7.5 years ago. So let's, if we want later on, after we go through all this stuff through the jury, if we have some time, we can maybe, if you guys want, we can go through the timeline and stuff like that. But let's get into what happened this morning. All right, let's get into it. And everybody that's coming in, welcome. Good to see you guys. If you can, please hit that like button. I tried to grab everything, and it didn't matter what side, because I want to be as transparent as much as possible in this case. So let's get going. This, like I said, this is kind of going in order of how everything kind of evolved over the day.
Beginning phase of the Delphi murders trial. It is finally here. It has been more than 7 years since the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German were found near the Monon High Bridge in Delphi. The trial for suspect Richard Allen begins this week, starting with jury selection. It's taking place in Fort Wayne, and it all started this morning. So here's a look now at the latest mugshot of Richard Allen. This was released very recently. Allen's...
Yeah, it looks cleaned up. He looks, I think his weight is, I think it was 147 pounds. So, I mean, he is a shorter guy. I forget what he was when he came in. I'm sure we could look that up. But, you know, clearly they got rid of the goatee. I don't know if that's on purpose to, you know, because obviously, you know, with the sketches and everything, they have the goatee, so I wonder if that was, you know, obviously the defense, that's what they're paid to do.
Accused of killing Abby Williams and Libby German back in 2017. Now here's what is expected to happen today. The court sent questionnaires to 600 Allen County residents who are being considered for the Delphi jury. That's where the jury's coming from, Allen County. 16 will be selected, 12 jurors and 4 alternates. Both the prosecution and defense teams will get a chance to strike 10 potential jurors for any reason.
And it'll happen
Others
in
will be
Delphi.
dismissed for a variety of reasons. So the process will last up to 3 days. Once that jury is sworn in, they'll be sequestered, which means they will be isolated from the public to prevent being tainted. We'll have full team coverage throughout the trial, and you can get up to speed with the major moments and developments throughout this case. We have our Delphi trial special available right now on demand on our WTHR 24/7 WTHR Plus app. You can download our free app on Apple TV, Fire, Amazon.
Yeah, this is a pretty good app. I downloaded it because obviously I'm going to be following the case and want to update. And yeah, it's pretty good. You know, if you're a fanatic in this case. Yeah, I download the app and then it'll update you when there's, new news and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty good every time, because obviously they started with a few jurors, at certain periods of the time throughout the day, it started with a few jurors that they selected, and then they just kind of kept adding on. And then we kind of learned like their backgrounds and stuff like that. And I've got all of that data. So we're going to go through all of it. And then there's some interesting things that, a little peek behind the curtain on some things that we'll talk about.
And Roku. Just search WTHR in your app store.
Ooh. So, like I said, this is kind of in chronological order. This was kind of like halfway through the day. Where I think they had, they started out with like 4 or 6, and then they updated to like 10, which was kind of more women. I think it was like more women than men at that time. And let's see here. Continue here. So early on in the day, they had at 1 p.m., 24 potential jurors had been questioned. Obviously, they'd have like a group of I think 50, and then obviously they'd question them, and then they kind of break them down, obviously, and then just slowly kind of weed them out. And then they ended up with early on, I think a 10 at that time. Let's see, continuing on. So Allen, for the first time, we've always seen him in a jumpsuit. He has finally now walked in the courtroom wearing a light purple button-down shirt with khaki pants. Obviously, and it just goes to show in the statement, it says this is the first time in a public court appearance not wearing a prison jumpsuit since he was arrested 2 years ago. Almost, I can't remember, was it late October, so it's almost 2-year anniversary since he was arrested. So yeah, about halfway through the day, 10 jurors had been selected, and we'll kind of talk about what happened there. Gold came in the courtroom. Obviously, it starts, I think it goes from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, something like that. The defense and state were then each given 30 minutes to question each group of jurors. And then, of course, they had, 50 jurors per pool. And then they kind of just weeded them down. So at that time, there was 10 jurors, 6 women, 4 men. Yeah, that's 10. Then we'll come back to this. So obviously, each side had to, had a kind of a mini opening statement, and we'll talk about that. Let's see, all this stuff I'll have at the end. I think I got everything in this area here, and I'll get to chat here in just a second. Yeah, that's everything I'm going to talk about here a little bit later.
Abigail Williams in Liberty.
Okay.
Court TV's Barbara McDonald takes a look at what evidence will be allowed at the trial.
Yeah, so what I did is I collabed everything, with the jurors. I just kept adding on. I had a little 3D paint that I just kept adding on all the jurors every time they added one on, male or female, and then usually we get their profession and stuff. So I've got all that listed at the end there. Let's see, what do we got here? Miss Dog Lover, I can't imagine how the families feel. Yeah, they're there. At least I know Libby's, the grandparents are there. I'm not sure about the other families. This is a hard case for me, having nieces that age. I'm very emotional. Prayers to the family. Thank you so much, Miss Dog Lover, for the €4.99. Bless you, and I hope everything is going well for you. Hey, Gail, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. All right, no cameras. I'm so bummed.
On a Monday afternoon in February of 2017, best friends Abigail Williams and Liberty German went for a walk along the Delphi historic trails. While on the then-abandoned Monon High Bridge, the girls were approached by a man. Libby started recording. The following day, Abby and Libby were found dead, about a quarter of a mile from the bridge. They had fatal cuts to their necks. In addition to the portion of Libby's cell phone video, police released 2 sketches.
Oh.
This one, in 2017, of a man they estimated to be in his 30s
right on,
or
Junior.
40s. Then changing it to this one in 2019, of a much younger man.
The judge did find probable cause for an arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German.
In late 2022, Richard Allen, a 50-year-old pharmacy tech at the local CVS, was arrested. He'd admitted to being on the trails the day the girls went missing, but said he hadn't seen them. Prosecutors say an unfired bullet found at the crime scene matches Allen's gun, and say since he's been in custody, he's confessed more than 60 times. Allen's defense says he was psychotic at the time of those confessions. They say Allen is 100% innocent and that other men who law enforcement initially investigated are the real killers. But the judge ruled the defense won't be able to talk about those men at trial because they can't prove those men are connected to the murders. Yeah. Judge Fran Gull isn't allowing cameras or other recording devices in court, leaving reporters to rely on handwritten notes of the testimony.
And that was Barbara McDonald reporting.
Okay. Then we move a little bit later on in the day, and there's more stuff coming out. Let's see. Okay, that's not the one I was looking for.
Exclusively confirms 6 jurors have been selected so far for the trial of Richard Allen. He's charged with the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German in Delphi more than 7 years ago. He was arrested 2 years ago, and today is the first day of jury selection in the highly anticipated trial. CBS 4's Russ McQuaid has been in the Allen County Courthouse all morning long. He joins us now with an update on the selection process so far. Russ?
Yeah, so this is where he shares some interesting information.
And a good afternoon, Melissa. Yes, 6 jurors have been chosen, leaving 6 more empty seats on that jury with room for 4 alternates who will hear the case against Richard Allen. While jury selection is all about tracking down perhaps the dozen best impartial citizens who say they will have an open mind when it comes to considering a defendant's guilt or innocence, it's also an opportunity for the defense and the prosecution to take their competing theories on the case out for a walk to see which evidence will play to that jury and has legs. Carroll County Prosecutor Nicholas McLeland went before the jurors this morning and told them, quote, Richard Allen is bridge guy who left a bullet from his gun when he brutally murdered Abby and Libby. McLeland was referring to the images of the suspected killer captured on Libby's cell phone and the unspent bullet found near the bodies that the state says matches Allen's gun, plus the defendant's own confessions heard more than 60 times. Defense attorney Bradley Rosie says his client falsely confessed to murder scene details that never happened, that infighting between the FBI and Carroll County law enforcement left some evidence unanalyzed, and that false self-incriminating evidence can be a result of depression or mental illness or coercive incarceration. The prosecution seemed to indicate it may not have conclusive details.
So yeah, that's from today, I believe, because it doesn't look like he's got the goatee. I'm assuming that's from today.
Or phone data or weapon evidence, and the defense laid the groundwork for keeping Allen off the witness stand. Nearly 300 people were called for this jury selection process. We've only heard from a dozen or so of them. 6 have been dismissed. 6 are sitting on that jury. We're about to start the second round this afternoon to come up with the rest of the jury, which will then travel to Delphi to hear the case against Richard Allen in a trial that is expected to last a month. Melissa?
Russ, before you go, we do have a few questions for you. Now, what were some of the reasons the potential jurors brought up to avoid jury duty?
Well, of course, you're going to have typical and legitimate ones. There are family members who count on them. There are job situations, financial issues. But the most creative one I've heard, which I have never heard in court, is one man told the judge that he was psychic, that he was tapped into the emotions of the people in the courtroom, and he's already made up his mind, and his serving on this jury would be very beneficial to the prosecution.
Oh, man. Yeah, so I'm sure, obviously, he got cut.
Now, can you also describe the demeanor of the room? I mean, you've been in there for hours now, Russ. Has anything stood out to you?
Well, as I explained, you know, when you get the 2 competing sides standing up there talking, and this is the first time we've really heard them say on the record in court, though it's been in motions, where they're laying out their case. Yep. And it was interesting to see the attorneys, both the prosecution and the defense, kind of find out from the jurors, where do you sit on this? The defense, for instance, saying to jurors, you know, how many of you believe that the government is not necessarily always right? Whereas the prosecution is saying to the jurors, if you heard it from a man's own mouth, would you tend to give that credibility? So you can see they're both playing the same 2 sides of the evidence, but they're playing it their way, trying to get a feel for jurors on how they might perceive those types of evidence and also types of testimony.
Yeah, so confessions are going to be big. Obviously, defense is saying some of those are false confessions, coerced confessions, but I think there's kind of an issue with the coerced thing because they have 24/7 cameras on Richard Allen at all times. So, and even in when they had that hearing in, what was it, July, where we had just got a little bit of tidbits from the confessions, you know, the box cutter thing was brought up. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Oh, yeah, and Richard Allen apparently said that it wasn't physical abuse that he was experiencing, but mental. And by mental, he said that it was way the prison was set up, where there was always lights, and then the other prisoners were really loud. So there's no mention of, guards being abusive to him, though I know that the defense has put that in a motion at some point. But again, there's cameras, so I would think if they have that anything like that where he would be abused, I'm assuming they would be able to get that footage if that did occur.
Russ McQuaid reporting live for us in Allen County this afternoon. Thank you for your insight.
I am now a person in long-term.
Yeah, that's the big one. I think it don't, even if, let's just say, if he was coerced, but if he says something that nobody should know about the crime scene, like the box cutter, again, we don't know if that's actually how they died, but if it is, I don't think anybody would have assumed that a box cutter. We'd always kind of thought, something more like how like a Bowie knife or something, but a box cutter. But it does make sense because he works not in the pharmacy, but he works in the CVS, and probably his main tool is a box cutter. And I worked in retail, and because box cutters are small, and you're like I said, it's your main tool, and usually they always have like a package of these sitting somewhere in the back, just in case if you break a blade or you lose the actual thing itself. But I ended up taking a bunch home because I worked there for 8 years almost, and so just occasionally I would take them home, so I'd have a bunch of box cutters everywhere. So it'd be kind of interesting if that is true. But anyway, in this, let me read this here. This was kind of interesting. So the prosecution seemed to indicate that it may not have conclusive DNA. So that just kind of shows that there is DNA. I think we've talked about it on the show before. It doesn't appear to connect to Richard Allen. And then the other thing is the phone data. It sounds like that's going to be kind of an issue, which I don't know which side that's going to benefit, or if any, because again, that area is very spotty. They only have 2 towers, so it'll be interesting. This statement was very interesting. Oh, I went too far.
Sides of the evidence, but they're playing it there. Those.
So during jury selection, apparently they, when they were questioning the jurors, obviously they have, these basic questions, and I'm sure one of them is, have you heard of this case? And they are saying 60 to 70% had heard of the case, so that's not surprising. And then we'll get to the witnesses towards the end here. This was something that the grandmother had posted. I'll just read just a little tidbit here. Obviously, the family's been waiting a long time, almost 2 years. And I'll just read kind of the first few paragraphs. Today's finally the day. This is from Becky Patty, the grandmother. Today starts jury selection. Then we face the accused killer in the courtroom. We will be there side by side to honor and support you. We've waited 7.5 years for this. It seems like a dream, but this is about to turn into a nightmare. It's terrible. And it continues on. Very, very tragic. And then this was, I think, one of the final updates. I think they're going to do one more, which may come out while we're going live. So I'm going to look for it after we finish this. But this has got a lot of information. And then I put put everything together at the end here, all the kind of bullet points and highlights of what happened.
And we begin today at noon with the beginning phase of the Delphi murders trial.
Hey June, good to see you. Hit that like button for Abby and Libby. Thank you so much.
Since the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German were found near the Monon High Bridge in Delphi. The trial for suspect Richard Allen begins this week, starting with jury selection. It's taking place in Fort Wayne, and it all started this morning. So here's a look now at the latest mugshot of Richard Allen. This was released very recently. Allen's accused of killing Abby Williams and Libby German back in 2017. Now here's what is expected to happen today. The court sent questionnaires to 600 Allen County residents who are being considered for the Delphi jury.
So this is where this is where it's going on, Allen County, which is different from Delphi. Not too far away from, I'm not sure the distance, but this is where they're getting their obviously their jury pool.
Jury, that's where the jury's coming from, Allen County. 16 will be selected, 12 jurors and 4 alternates. Both the prosecution and defense teams will get a chance to strike 10 potential jurors for any reason. Others will be dismissed for a variety of reasons. So the process will last up to 3 days. Once that jury is sworn in, they'll be sequestered, which means they will be isolated from the public to prevent being tainted. We'll have full team coverage throughout the trial, and you can get up to speed with the major moments and developments throughout this case. We have our Delphi trial special available right now on demand on our WTHR 24/7 WTHR Plus app. You can download our free app on Apple TV, Fire, Amazon, and Roku. Just search WTHR in your app store.
Allen County. Then we had this guy here kind of giving a report. I think this was about 3/4 into the day, so I think this isn't when they had the full 14. I think they were still around like in the 10 area right now, but here's him kind of giving an update. I think he kind of, because he was in the courtroom.
I am in front of the Fort Wayne courthouse where jury selection in the Richard Allen trial has taken place. We just got an update from someone inside. I want to give you some important information. 11 jurors have been selected out of the 12, plus there are 4 alternates, 7 women, 4 men. The latest woman who was selected is a homemaker. She didn't really give another job other than being a homemaker. There's a FedEx delivery driver on the jury. There are several members of the jury that have family members who are police officers.
So a lot of government jobs. So I worked in retail for almost 8 years. I think it was like 7.5. And I was moving up, and then unfortunately the company I was working for ended up going bankrupt, and then they got bought out by another company, and then they were because I was kind of like on a fast track at Albertsons, and then they got bought out, and anyway, so then years later I went to work for the post office, USPS. And they do extensive background. You have to have a clean record. I felt bad for a guy because you do some extensive tests. One of them was a memory test, and another one was kind of a IQ test, more or less. But anyway, and then you have to pass. You have to have a certain score just to even be considered. You have to hit 70 or above. And anyway, so yeah, I got the job, and I was working in the actual warehouse, but it was so crazy because second I became someone who was working for the government technically, all of a sudden I was getting, asked to do jury.
There are a lot of people on the jury that do know information or that does know information about this case. However, they said they could set that aside and form an opinion after they hear all the evidence. There were some members who were questioned, or some people who were questioned that said that they could not set it aside, and they already formed an opinion. Those people obviously were not part of the jury. So there you have it. Before anybody else knows, I'm bringing it to you live from the Allen County Courthouse. That's a lot of good information. Now, one other piece of information. The defense did talk about the confessions that Richard Allen made. They said that one of the confessions that they have on tape is Richard Allen saying that he unalived the two girls by shooting them and burying their bodies, which we know that did not happen. So
that's interesting. So we've heard them get shot in the back, but we've never heard the part where they said that after he did that, he buried them. So that's very interesting. As far as I know, we only just heard that they were shot in the back. Now, from what I understand, that came from a inmate. So the question is did that inmate hear it from Richard Allen himself? Or was it Richard Allen said that to one person or said something different, than shooting them in the back, but maybe mentioned a gun, and then that prisoner, and then it's like the phone game where, you tell one story, and then as it goes around, it comes back, it's a completely different story. So again, we don't know. But from what I understand, that comes from because we're going to have people that worked in the prison guards, obviously going to be witnesses, inmates, but that's interesting. We've never heard that before. And there's much more little tidbits that we're going to break at the end here. I was kind of shocked. It seems like there's just slowly going to be tidbits coming out each day that stuff's going on. Tom, good to see you. I was going to actually text you. I hope all is well. I've been slammed, busy with life. I understand that, buddy. God bless what you do, Chris. We appreciate what you do. This case would have already closed out if not for the Corona year. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, actually, how everything evolved, with the tip that happened in the beginning. How did that get lost? Or did they just know about Richard Allen all along and they were just kind of waiting? It'll be very interesting to find out. But thank you. God bless you, Tom. Huge supporter of the channel. And I hope you get some time to, relax. But I do appreciate all the support. And that goes to everybody. All right.
So, again, I do not know the gentleman's name who come out and gave us the information, but I believe he was with
So I don't know this guy. I think I don't know if he's an official reporter. I think maybe he just is a local that got a seat, and then during the breaks he came out and I think he did 2 videos.
Fox channel of news organization. So shout out to him. If I knew his name, I would give it to you. Stay tuned for more updates. But that's it from here for me today. Don't forget, be nice to someone today.
I like that. What a good man. What a good man. This is something I meant to... I was trying to put something together because if you saw my live on Friday, I talked about how I kind of had an oh shit moment, like where these these sketches that weren't released. And I know that this one at the top, I'm pretty sure this one came from one of the girls. They both may have came from the girls. I'm not 100%, but I think this one for sure. So this kind of shows you, I mean, if you notice one thing that they both have in common is they got some kind of beanie on their head. And if you look, there's Richard Allen with the beanie. And, I always kind of thought, because, everybody's mentioned, oh, maybe he doesn't have anything on. It's just his hair, to a hood on, to a driver's cap, to a baseball cap that's backwards. And to me, if this is what the girl saw as he was walking by, because remember they said that it seemed like his mouth was covered. But if that's true, then I do think this was a beanie, which then if we go to Betsy Blair, but I don't want to kind of get too sidetracked. But anyway, if we get some time, we'll come back to that. But it was just like, man, there's a lot of shots where you see him in a beanie. Miss Dog Lover, this is going to be tough, guys. Please look after your own mental health and take care. No shame in accessing support services if needed. I totally agree. My mom passed. I wasn't close with my father. And, and then unfortunately, my mom was my rock, and then she passed away when I was in my early 20s. And it was very devastating. And, getting help. I ended up seeing a shrink, for about a year and a half. And it is. Mental health is everything. It truly is. And it's nice to, be able to kind of open up to somebody that kind of can put you on the right track and get you, back on a good, stable lifestyle. But here is, now, unfortunately, I wish I didn't circle all this, but here is what his height, they say, 5'5" here. We've seen 5'4", 5'5". I think we've kind of seen that go back and forth. Maybe he's like 5'4" and a half. So it's like, depending on who does his measurements, it's. But anyway, then it's kind of hard to see the third number, but it says he's 147 pounds. That definitely seems a little more lighter than, for a 5'5" person. Here's the schedules, and then we're going to get into some of these little shocking statements at the end here. So anybody is just kind of wondering what's going to be going on this week. So obviously jury selection started today. It finished. They got 12 out of the 14, so all they need is 2 more. They got the 12 jurors, and they already have 2 alternates. Yeah, 14. And then they just need 2 more alternates, which that's going to take place tomorrow. And even though it seems like they're up ahead of schedule, they're not going to move anything up. So it sounds like they'll have tomorrow, they'll do their thing, get their final jury selection. And then it sounds like because they did this pretty fast, Wednesday is going to be, nothing's happening Wednesday. And then Thursday they get sworn in. And then I think there's going to be some motions and whatever. And then Friday, that's just around the corner. So they go from 9 to 6, and I think it's Monday through Saturday. So here's a look at the Delphi courthouse. Look at this fenced off area they got. This is wild. You can see the fenced off areas here. And this is the report from the end of the day. We'll listen to this. This definitely has some tidbits in it. And then I've got all of the just kind of everything, just like the bullet points, all the highlights of everything, and more that wasn't mentioned in these little clips. But this is kind of like just as the day ended. So we'll definitely play this real quick. Marge, thanks, Chris, for covering this. This is my honor. I've been, obviously invested in this case, and just as many others. And I really hope, depending on, because I know it's a very divided group, and I just really hope that everybody, depending on what side you're on, I hope you get the answers you're looking for, and it's just too bad it's not televised so everybody can see the full transparency of everything. But thank you so much, Marge. Tom coming in again. They announced this 2019 presser, in my opinion. Then Corona hit 2020. Yeah, that's interesting. I never really kind of think about that. You did have the the Corona. That's a good word for it. Coming in. Let's see. Alpers in 2020. and all proceedings and investigations were backed up and interaction guidelines completely changed. Then in October of 2020, they make the arrest. Yeah, interesting. Right after they did the Wabash River search. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
The very first day of
God bless you, Tom. Thank you so much,
the Delphi
bud.
murders trial now is wrapping up at this hour. And at last check, there were 14 jurors
Oh, thank you,
selected
Boogie.
for the trial, nearly 2,800 days after someone killed Abby Williams and Libby German. Good evening. I'm Jenny Runovich, in tonight for Felicia Lawrence.
And I'm Anne-Marie Tiernan. Thank you for joining us. On the scene tonight, our senior investigative reporter, Bob Siegel. He's in Allen County. He's been covering the developments in this case for us for years now.
Yeah, he joins us live from Fort Wayne now, where he just stepped out from the courtroom. So, Bob, you've been in there all day. What have you learned?
Yeah, thank you, Boogie.
Actually underway in the Delphi murders trial. 16 jurors total are needed. We now have 14 of those jurors that have been selected for the trial of Richard Allen, and that includes 8 women and 6 men, all Allen County residents from all walks of life, including a nurse, a school counselor, a stay-at-home mom, a transportation director, and a seminary professor. Here's what happened in court today. 52 possible jurors were split into groups and then questioned by both the Carroll County prosecutor and Richard Allen's defense team. Many of those jurors were dismissed because of their personal biases or hardships that would be caused by a month-long trial. The state and the defense team then agreed on 14 jurors.
Yeah, because that's going to be tough. They're being sequestered. That means they're going to be staying at a hotel for a whole month. You know, they can't research anything, you know. So that's going to be tough because they're going to be isolated for, a month. And, obviously you don't get paid. You don't get paid much for being on, being a juror. I think I did 2 days, and I think they paid me $13.50 per day, and that was two 8-hour sessions, I believe, something like that. It was kind of nice because I was working for the UPS at the time, and I was working graveyards, and it was at a time where we were kind of ramping up, and so it was just a great time for me to just kind of like just sit and relax, even though I'm only getting paid $13.50 for the whole day. It was nice just to kind of and see the whole process, because I had never seen that happen. I never got to do it, and so that was really cool.
Questioning. That includes 12 jurors who will make up the formal jury. Then 2 alternates have been selected, and tomorrow the plan is to wrap up jury selection by selecting 2 more alternates, so that there will be 4 alternates altogether. I want to point out, Richard Allen was inside the courtroom during all the proceedings today. He was actually very active helping his attorneys select the jurors and giving them input about which jurors he preferred. And also, he was wearing a light purple button-down dress shirt and khaki pants. It's the first time in the 2 years since he's been arrested and charged with murder that we've seen him wearing anything other than a prison jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Selection today. That's when defense attorney Andrew Baldwin stood behind Richard Allen, put his hands right on his shoulders, looked directly at the potential jurors in the jury box, and he said to them, "You guys look at this man right here. Is it really possible that he might be innocent of this crime?"
What do you guys think about that statement? So yeah, he stood up and then went behind Richard Allen, put his hands on his shoulder. You guys, look at this man. Is it really possible that he might be innocent of this crime? Kind of interesting choice of words. You would think, he would say, look at this man. This guy is innocent, and he's trying to defend, anyway.
During that time, Richard Allen was staring directly at the jury and smiled at them.
Oh.
That drew an objection from prosecutor Nick McClelland. At that point, both sides went up to the judge, and there was a side discussion. And after that, then the jury selection continued. Also today, inside the courtroom, both sides, the prosecutor and the defense, gave many opening statements to the potential jurors that were meeting there, including the jurors that have been selected. And that really foreshadows what we're going to hear when the formal part of this trial begins and when the opening statements take place on Friday. I'll tell you what was included in those opening statements coming up on 13 News at 6. For now, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, that's Bob Siegel reporting live for us as that jury selection gets underway today in Fort Wayne at the Allen County Courthouse.
Yes, so many people focused on this. Bob, thank you. Today's jury selection is just the start of a very emotional journey for the family and friends of Abby Williams and Libby German, as well as the entire town of Delphi.
So the girls' families haven't been able to speak to the media very much throughout the legal process. And today, Libby German's grandmother, that's Becky Patty, went online to share some thoughts. And it was on Facebook that she wrote this rather lengthy post.
Which is kind of what we went through.
We have waited over 7.5 years for this. It all seems like a dream that is about to turn into a nightmare. I have thought about this day and tried to prepare for this day for years, but in the end, can anyone really prepare for something like this?
Yeah.
We want to let you know you can watch our Delphi trial special right now on WTHR+. That'll help you get caught up on all the major...
All right. Let me get to chat, and then, like I said, these are the bullet points. I put everything together here. Michelle, I would love to adopt you as a son. Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. I think, losing my mother, it definitely obviously was tough, but, it taught me a lot of things. I had to kind of grow up, even though I was already, I think I was kind of ahead of my time, pretty mature very early on, even though I had ADHD, and I had a lot of energy, but I just kind of focused it on whatever I was doing, and that was at the time just working at Albertsons, moving my way up, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. Chemistry Queen coming in, becoming a member. Thank you so much. God bless you for the support. And then we got Moni. With the $3 super sticker. Thank you so much. God bless you. Brandy says, I'm 2 hours away. Big pedal ring. Yeah, I think we always, well, I don't think we always, but I think a good portion thought that is something that, especially with Keegan Klein, this is kind of before Richard Allen, that was going to be something that may have, materialized as to may have what happened to the girls, but yeah, we never know. Okay, so we got 6 men, 8 women, and this is throughout the day, so I don't know if all of them, I think especially these last ones, I think they're still on, but the jurors that we have include a nurse, a counselor, a retired man, 2 with law enforcement families, and 1 who has been on 3 other juries. So that sounds like to me that might be one of them that may be, the foreman. That sounds like they had a lot of experience. Then we have the FedEx driver, school counselor, stay-at-home mother, transportation driver, and then a seminar professor. So definitely a good variety from all walks of life. Obviously, we don't know the ethnicity of these jurors, but I think I think it sounds great. Obviously, both sides have to agree on these, jurors, so the ones that'll eventually get picked, this is something that both the defense and prosecution agree on at the end of the day. So the defense mini opening strategy, we heard a little bit about this, obviously, where Andrew Baldwin stood up and said, look at this guy right here. He's innocent of the crime. And then apparently after he said that, Allen smiled at the jury, and the jury apparently just stared back at him. So if anybody doesn't know the layout, and we'll actually see just kind of a cheap diagram. Let me leave this up, but let me play this and show you guys what the layout is. Obviously, this is nothing like the artwork isn't nothing super special.
Rafael Sanchez outside the.
He did draw just a little diagram of, how everything's set up, who's sitting, and I find it very interesting. I like this setup for sure.
The Allen County Courthouse here in Fort Wayne, where jury selection in the Delphi murder trial will continue tomorrow morning at 9. 14 jurors have been seated. They need the other 2 alternates. Tomorrow, out of a pool of 52, they will pick the remaining 2 alternates. Let me take you inside of Superior Court 1. You can see a rough draft sort of etching of the courtroom. Very elementary among the jurors.
So very interesting. Let me move this over a little bit, and I'm sure he'll kind of change it. But obviously we have the judge, then we have the defense table. It's just kind of almost like a square, looks like, and then they probably will have a podium up here where they talk. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they talk from where they're at. Not sure on that. But then you can see where it says where Richard Allen is. So that's very interesting. Richard Allen is going to be facing the jury, which I think is great, because I think the jury needs to be able to read how the defendant is, reacting to certain things. I think that's great. And then obviously the state, at the top here. And then, of course, I'm assuming everybody else is back here.
Already seated, a seminary pastor, a mother, a FedEx worker, a nurse whose relative has been murdered, a robbery victim from 2018. So what's next? After those 2 alternate jurors are seated, motions will be heard on Tuesday. No court on Wednesday. On Thursday, the jury will be sworn in, and on Friday, the trial begins in Delphi in Carroll County. In Fort Wayne, in Allen County, Rafael Sanchez with the very latest.
Man, I can't believe it. So close. All right. We got a few more things here. Here we go. Let me finish, because there was a few other little shocker moments that happened.
Abby Williams and Liberty German had made last-minute plans to go to the Monon High Bridge, which was supposed to be a teenage hangout. Okay. The defense subpoenaing Chadwell and Klein is very interesting. Yeah, we talked about that on Friday. And if you guys want, we could go over some of the witnesses the defense is going to call. And that's actually what we're transitioning to. Thank you so much, Tom. Yeah, I am really, especially Chadwell. Klein, I understand, but like Chadwell, that's going to be interesting. Did Chadwell hear something while he was in prison? I can't see what other benefit, unless they're just trying to throw every possible person of interest that was, even though not a technical person of interest, but like in the public's eye.
You can watch our Delphi trial special right now on WTHR Plus. That'll help you get caught up on all the major.
Okay, so this is kind of wild. They have up to 120 witnesses for the defense's side. Woo! Now, I doubt they'll use all 120, and I'm going to show you some examples. I hope they're in here. I think they are. Usually they use about 3 to 3/4 of what they have, sometimes half. It appears that they're going after the confessions. Obviously, we heard that. Allen stated that he shot the girls in the back and then apparently buried him. That was something that was new. Again, from what I understand, that statement came from an inmate. So again, did he hear it directly from Richard Allen, or is this something that was kind of moved along, through a bunch of people and the story changed? It'll be interesting. And then, of course, one of the big ones is saying that that these admissions were false confessions. That, I mean, you can't blame them for trying. And then we have the opening strategy. Again, this isn't the opening statements, but just something to kind of give the jurors, they claim Allen admitted to being at the bridge during the time the girls were murdered. Obviously, that's pretty big in my opinion. Prosecution said the unspent round found next to the bodies matched a gun used by Allen. State also said Allen confessed dozens of times, 61. And then it says the state plans to call up to 50 witnesses. So you have 50 and 120. You're looking at 170 witnesses. Now, I doubt that will be what happens. I did a little research. I think it's in here. I hope it is. So, in the Alex Murdaugh trial, let me move this over a little bit. Obviously, that was a big trial. And they ended up using 61 witnesses for the prosecution and 14 for the defense. This one doesn't say how many. I swear there was... Yeah, so the prosecution had well over like 70, I think, and I'm not sure how much the defense had, but of course, they didn't use them all. And then with the Karen Reed, they ended up calling 68 total. Prosecution called more than 50 witnesses. It looks like they had a list of 87, so you can see where, about 3/4. Maybe a little, was that like more like 2/3? Defense called 20 witnesses from 77. So that was, a huge cut. So about 1/4 of what they originally had. So I doubt there'll be 170 witnesses. I'm sure that'll get cut down, but that would be terrible. We saw what happened with Karen Reed case. For those that followed it, and one of the biggest problems with the prosecution in the Karen Reed case is that they had so many witnesses that I think it dragged on way too long. And I think anything that might have been good for the prosecution on certain witnesses, that probably just got lost with all the other witnesses that were mediocre at best. So let me get to chat here. Here is what the crime scene looks like through different seasons, because obviously the defense wanted the jurors to go to the crime scene, which again I agree. I would, if I was on the jury in something like this, I would probably want to see the crime scene. But definitely, this is a very, very dangerous place. And then, of course, you've got people's property that, which I don't think is a too big of a deal that you can get, motions or whatever to get to be allowed on that property, but. Obviously, this is what it looked like more when the girls were sadly killed, and this is this area here is kind of where they were found, not too far from the creek. Obviously, the creek since 2017 has gone down very. The water level is much lower than it was in 2017. It even says it right there. And then I'll show you the 3 different seasons. And I don't know how much help it'll be if they did go there. I still think they could go there and at least see the bridge and get the trail. I still think that would be important. But to get down to the crime scene, it's very steep. And I don't know. I don't know how they would be able to get them out there without anybody getting hurt, because obviously that would be very terrible. Boogie coming in with a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much, Boogie. And I believe you said you lost your mother as well. Yeah, it's tough, especially when your father's not around. You just have your mother. And that's kind of both parents, and when you lose those, it's like losing both. And again, it made me a better person. So yeah, we'll go over Chadwell Lily here in just a minute. Definitely. Hey Sandra, good to see you. All right, let me skip this a little bit. I thought I had the speed up here. So again, this would be more like what it looked like when it happened. But let me show you when. Okay, this guy went during like a summertime. Now look how different it looks, and I think this would be more closer. Obviously, I think the trees would be starting to change color. I don't know if they'd the leaves would be falling at this point, so it'd still be pretty lush with all the trees and foliage and brush. That I don't know if it would really replicate what it was in a February setting. Much different. Obviously, when it was in the fall or early spring, obviously all these trees had no leaves, so it looks like you're going through a jungle. It looks really different. And it's, sadly, it's beautiful. It's just so terrible that something so heinous happened. But this is right after you get done to the bridge. Look how steep going down this. There's 2 hills to get down to the creek. This is the first one, and it's, I think Barbara McDonald said that she had to slide on her bum to get down. And then you have the private driveway. And then you have another one that's just as steep to get down to where you're almost at the creek. He ends up kind of going left, and I think he kind of shows what it looks like under the bridge. But as you can see, this is much different and wouldn't really replicate, what it was, in February. I mean, it looks like it's just a completely different area. Andrea, off topic, but how do I find when I become a member to Mod Please? You are a member. When you have a green, obviously your name is green and you have a little logo next to it, you may have been gifted a membership. So then that allows you to be able to get into. Obviously, I have tons of member videos. I've got to kind of organize them and clean some out because. But yeah, there's tons of behind the scenes member videos for all sorts of stuff.
Allen's accused of killing Abby Williams and Libby German back.
Okay, let's talk about the defense, if you guys just want to see who the defense is calling for. I think it's, oh, here we are. Oops. Oh, where'd it go? Sorry, it's a big video. Did I put it after this? I didn't think I had it after this. No. Oh, here it is. Here we go. Here we go. I found it. Okay. Let me get to chat, and then we'll talk about some of the witness. These are like what I call ghosts from the past that they're bringing in. Kind of interesting. Tom says that tattoo looks like Libby on Chadwell's arm. I always found that interesting. He also had an obsession with taking selfies near bridges. Really? I had no idea about that. That's kind of interesting. If anybody is wondering about the tattoo, This is creepy. But as far as I know, there was no connection to him. He was involved in another crime, and he pled guilty. He didn't even go to trial. Yeah, I mean, this is really bizarre. Oh, that's not a good one. That's a better one. Yeah, so if you guys can see that, and he has 2 girls tattooed. But if I understand, he got these tattoos before the girls were killed. So, really strange. Yeah, it is bizarre. Not gonna lie. That one a better one? No. I wanted to see both of them together, but anyway, yeah, it's so weird. But yeah, let's get into some of them here. Neighbors nearby, Leslie and Billy. Chris, when are you going to be able to come and have a home-cooked meal and just relax by the fire and ride four-wheelers, side-by-side doors, always open, much love, your neighbor down the road? I would love that. Yeah, we'll have to get in touch. I'll be honest, I haven't rode any four-wheelers. I'm very familiar with side-by-sides, but I do appreciate that. Boy, what I would do if I had those looking for Aidan Clune. All right, so this was very interesting. These are some of the motions that were filed recently before this jury selection started. So they're saying that they're going to be calling in James Chadwell II. Sadly, this terrible man assaulted a young girl, and then I think it was 9 years old. And he was sentenced to 90 years in prison. He pled guilty, so there was no trial. Obviously, the reason why it's so high is because he had prior stuff doing terrible things. But the size of him really, when you look side by side at James Chadwell and the bridge guy, you know, they have a really close body type. Then we're going to have Klein called in. This will be interesting. Now, of course, for anybody that doesn't know, obviously the Odinist theory for the defense, that was their kind of big thing. They were pushing for a long time. And they put all these Franks motions out. And then, of course, Judge Gold denied all those. And eventually she just said, you guys can't prove, because they had a hearing, what was in July, and they could not put a nexus which means they can't put any of these guys at the crime scene. You know, one was punched in at work. I think 2 of them have alibis where they were at work. And so, but anyway, they still can talk about it, but they can't do it with the jury's presence. So obviously this will be something for them to put on the record. That way, if Alan was found guilty, then they could file motions and appeals and, you know, say, hey, look, you know, there's these other people. But it would be interesting to see Klein on the stand, you know. But Klein is accused using the Anthony Shots account to speak with not only Libby's friends days before, but Libby allegedly during the morning, which is just really odd. So, and then you have this guy. This is Richie Davis, and obviously he is an Aryan Brotherhood. You can tell kind of what person this guy is. I'm assuming he's going to be somebody that was in jail with maybe either Ron Logan or one of these guys that, and then supposedly a confession. And there's one more. Oh, this guy here. And then we have James Haas, former inmate with Ron Logan. Obviously, he was a person of interest, probably the first person of interest in this case. Eventually, he died of COVID. He did make up a weird alibi, which major red flags. I do admit that it doesn't look good. And then apparently James Haas says that because they did arrest him because he was lying about driving and he had a suspended license. So apparently when these two were incarcerated, this guy says that Ron Logan admitted to killing Abby and Libby. So, but again, is that true, or is he just trying to get some brownie points to get some time off? That remains to be seen. Big Baby Jane, good to see you. Well, I have more people saying hi to me on here than I ever do on any channel I mod for. That's amazing. Oh, good to see you. I appreciate you coming over. Yeah, we have a great community here, and happy to have you here. Yeah, Chadwell is a creepy guy. He is, and he's got that that body type that, does fit just right. I wouldn't say just right, but it's pretty darn close. Not gonna admit. So anyway, what time is it? We started at 4:30. It's 6. Let's see if there's anything else. There was supposed to be one more. I feel like I'm missing one more. Oh, there is. This right here. This is very interesting. Like I said, there's like little tidbits that are coming out. So, according to Prosecutor McLeland, BG used the gun he had to force the girls down the hill, killed Abby and Libby. His intent was to have his way with them, but got interrupted. Very interesting. We've never heard that before. I think that's a strong statement to say that he got interrupted. What happened? Did the phone ring maybe and he heard that? Or somebody else that's around, because there was a lot of people walking around while this was happening. So, interesting choice of words. So I thought that was interesting to share, because we never heard that. Yeah, let's take a peek. I think that that local news channel was going to do one more update. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, jeez. Define trail. Where's WTR? Okay. That's the one we watched. Let's see, what time is it? God, maybe it might be coming out on the hour. That may be what it is. Okay. 45 minutes, hour. Anything else that you guys... I was thinking about maybe going through the timeline, but, we've kind of spent quite a bit just going over I mean, there was quite a bit with little tidbits. I think there's one more I'm missing here. Did I? What was it? Oh. Richard was in the courtroom. His hands were not bound to his chest. He was wearing a button-down shirt with faint red stripes. He took notes and nodded at potential jurors. Bob Siegel said that he described Allen as pale, but appeared to be in better physical condition. So, and then of course he was wearing his purple shirt. Then we learned that there was a guy that was dismissed because he hated the color green, which I thought was really strange. And then we had obviously, I think we heard earlier about the psychic and how they could help the prosecution. And yeah. Let me, I'm just going to leave this playing for a minute while I read chat. This is just kind of the timeline. Let's see. Yeah, anyway. Let me get to chat here. Miss Dogger says, punch in and out systems can fail. You're talking about work where you punch in and out. All the ones that I used, I'm going to be honest, I never had issues with, but I'm sure they happen. Definitely. Thank you so much, Leslie. It truly means the world to me. God bless you guys. Lisa says that Chadwell looks more like the bridge man. He does have that body type. That's for sure. But there was nothing to put. I mean, he was never even a person of interest. I think people just brought him up because he was obviously arrested. And of course, what he had done to the young girls, and of course they would have to look into that and see if there was any connection to him and Abby and Libby, but yeah, it doesn't appear to be the case. Brandy and Edie, so there's no doubt he didn't do it, in my opinion. Relating to Richard Allen? If it's Richard Allen, in my opinion, I disagree, respectfully. I think, him telling him that he was going to be there from 1:30 to 3:30, coincidentally, and then later on changes his timeline saying that he was there from noon to 1:30. So here's the thing that I have an issue with. So let's just say if he did arrive at noon and left at 1:30, and I'm sure he had to known what happened in this small town with these girls, and that he was there. So even though he did go to this conservation officer, but told him 1:30 to 3:30, but yet then it continues to go unsolved, you would think he would be interested in this case, or even his family, knowing that he was there, and maybe there's something he could have possibly seen, and you would think maybe he'd come in and say like, yeah, I was here from 12 to 1:30. I did run into some girls, but I didn't see Abby and Libby. It just weird. Oh, Chadwell. Oh, I got you. I'm sorry, Brandy. My apologies. Yeah, Chadwell was quick. Chadwell was arrested. I think it was at Lafayette, the town nearby. He did terrible things to children, young girls. So obviously, and this happened shortly after with Abby and Libby. So obviously, they looked into it. They didn't find anything, but of course, the public obviously was aware of it, and they kind of deep dived into it, and but it didn't go anywhere else from there. Yeah, Garrett Kirks. Boy, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the defense list too. I wonder if we're gonna get, if that'll be released somehow. I know there's been some leaks to witnesses, but I think the ones that have been leaked are kind of obvious witnesses. Police officers, the witnesses that were there that day. The walk looks similar to the pool room walk. That is so funny you mentioned that. Yeah, here it is. This was Richard Allen here. Notice he's got a beanie on. Yeah. But anywho, so yeah, we're gonna be covering this mods likely almost every day, especially once Friday comes. We're gonna Friday, Saturday, probably go live. Usually we'll probably start Friday, go Friday, Saturday. It seems it ends at 6 my time, so it's 5 my time. So yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, so I'll probably start like an hour earlier than I usually do. And then that way I'll just be collecting notes all throughout the day because people will be tweeting, between the breaks and the lunch. And then, of course, we'll just do what we did here, recap. I know there's not a lot of shocking things, but there's a little tidbits that are interesting. But I'm sure that's going to change drastically when opening statements come out. I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, thank you so much, Leslie and Billy. I'll be honest, I'm going to be pretty busy because of this trial, but yeah, maybe we can put something together. I do appreciate everybody. Much love to you guys. I was thinking about going over the timeline, but we've already gone an hour and a half because we start at 4:30. So we'll do another live tomorrow, and then I'll probably do some short videos, and then of course for the Patreons, if you'd like to support me, I've got Patreon, PayPal, Venmo, if you would like to support this channel. And yeah, so I'm going to start uploading stuff and make like a group, because I've got just the story itself for anybody that is getting new into the case, and then yeah. So she says, but I'm asking, why those girls? Why that timing? Why? What's the motive? The theory on the motive is supposedly SA. I mean, the girls, one of them was found naked. I think, again, this is theory. We don't know. I'm sure. Hopefully, for the family's sake, because that's what they want to know is why. Why did this monster do this to our girls? So,
I think that's probably the closest working theory. Again, well, we won't know until that time comes, but I do think that could be what was going on. And then like we heard, something spooked him, and that's interesting. How did they know something spooked him? So it'll be interesting to know. Oh, how am I feeling? Oh, I'm feeling much better. I have my stomach issues and stuff. Not gonna lie, it's kind of off and on, but that's just what happens when you get less young. Your body doesn't want to cooperate. But he brought a pew pew though. Yeah, I think that was more for control. Definitely just yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Elizabeth. I really appreciate it. Again, I know this wasn't a whole lot. I was, for those that have seen my show, I have a whole timeline and I break it down very to the very minute details. And of course, I will be adding on to those as we go on. So, Brandy says it's important to know that Richard Allen passed these girls on the trail and went around on a curb on trail to hide out of plain sight, then went back and trapped girls on the opposite side of the bridge. Yeah, I think it really shows that, the killer would have to be local or known this place very well to know that that is a dead end and these girls got nowhere else to go but back. And, you're on this tall bridge. And yeah, and he's, yeah. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Mitzi, Jocelyn, D. God bless you guys coming in here. I don't know if I saw Copper Horse or not. I know she works a lot of channels, but God bless my mods. We have a wonderful community. Yeah. When Alan knew these girls would report them to see them at CVS. Yeah. It's really bizarre. It's truly bizarre. Gail says he's sick. Yeah. I think it is. And I think there's definitely premeditation for sure. Amy says, yeah, less young. Yeah. But anyway, Black Widow, good to see you. All of you. I love you guys. I'm going to bounce out of here. So yeah, we'll be live back tomorrow. I think I might start at 4, which is 6 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if tomorrow's going to be a whole day because they really only need 2 more people. So it might be a half day. Who knows? And I know the Quentin Simon case is going on, so that's going to be kind of tough to kind of, time that right. But yeah, once Friday, Saturday comes, we're going to be in it. And like I said, I'll be trying to snag every little bit I can from everybody because, I want to get the full picture as much as we can. So with that, guys, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So that's 4 p.m. Mountain time, 5 p.m. Central time. Yeah, 5 p.m. Central time. Likely tomorrow if it that works out. So yeah. Yeah, there was mention of hair fibers, animal and hair fibers in the Ron Logan report. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I really think there's going to be some bombshells that the prosecution has that people are just going to be like, oh shit, never even thought about that, So, all right, guys, have the great rest of Monday. We will see you back tomorrow.
And Patreons, members, again, working on some stuff for you guys. I'm still trying to finish some things for the Madeline Soto case on the Jennifer Soto side, because there was another video that came out, so I want to add them all together. And I'll do Patreon and then members for that. So, all right, guys, we will see you tomorrow. Much love to you guys. Have a good night.